Hi, this is Glenn West. I'm with Alliance Solutions. Our presentation today is 10 reasons why Sage 300 construction and real estate. With Alliance Solutions as one of their territory managers. I've been around the Sage product for over 20 years, and I get asked uh, off and on why Sage 300 has been so successful, or why there's so many clients, or why do people buy it, or what are some of the features that we see there. So that's what we're going to talk about today, are 10 reasons why people seem to really like the Sage 300 system. As part of Alliance, I just wanted to give you a little background. We're a local technology company. We're set up so that we help construction companies work with technology. Technology can be something like their estimating or mobile or HR or construction accounting or project management. We're really driven around the operational side of the company. So we focus on construction and real estate, and that's really where our bread and butter is. We have over 40 employees and consultants that work with our clients. We're at about 7,000 clients right now nationwide. So our focus is really something that's been successful for us. We're not out, every day trying to find somebody new in a new industry and learn that industry. Because we do focus, our staff focuses, it becomes easier for us to work with companies, learn the industry, learn what's going on. The areas that we spend time are cost accounting and estimating and payroll and HR. And we also offer custom software development for clients that may want an app built, or they may want something specific that helps their company process better. And we do offer hosting. So if you have software and it's on your servers and you want to move all of your servers to the cloud, we can help you with that. The blue dots represent offices for Alliance. I'm in California right now, but we do offer in Texas and Florida. So we tend to focus on the southern part of the U.S. as we go. Some of the reasons people seem to like us, again, we're our construction expertise. All of our employees are certified by the vendors and software that we work with, so we know what we're doing. We've been around the technology for long enough that we can help guide you through the process. We have resources that tend to be local. So if we need to get somebody to your office, it's usually not flying them across the country. We may be either driving them across part of the state, or we may fly them across part of the state, but we're there. And then we get to understand the regional aspects. So what the compliance requirements in California are very different, say, than in Texas. And the payroll issues in Florida are going to be different than the ones in California. So I think we'll add, we give you that type of localization that really helps with implementations. These are some of the areas we really focus on. Sage 100 contractor, Sage 300 construction and real estate. We're going to talk about Sage 300 today. And then finally, we're working with between 250 and 300 new clients a year. So we really have figured out the process, and we run it like a project. So as we go through the implementation and training, we've got it very structured. So we have a high likelihood of making the project complete on time. That implementation method that I just talked about really is structured by consultants. The consultants drive the structure. They agree on the structure, and they agree on the budgeting process that we use. So when a salesperson tells you, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it, the tools we use have been validated by consultants. So we're not throwing it over the wall and hoping they can do it. They've said, yeah, if you provide this type of estimate, then we know for sure we can work within there as long as the variables don't change. Why Sage? We like Sage because it's a very large, very stable international company, and it's used by 50,000 plus construction companies and real estate companies in North America. So as we start to looking at the numbers, when we look at Sage 300 and Sage 100 and Sage 50 construction, and then some of the other subcontract systems maybe that are suppliers or distributors, it just really has a huge focus on the construction side of the house. And these are the areas that we can provide you information on. We can provide estimating and finance, and we can look into project management and field management and service and property management. So really on a end-to-end solution, Sage 300 can really provide us with a tool that lets your company grow or allows us to incorporate different departments or divisions of the company while working under a single platform. That platform provides us this type of capability. So these are kind of it's a busy review, but these are the things that we can do within the software. So as we look, in most cases, any construction company is going to use a subset of these environments. And so I'm going to walk through a couple of these today to show you how we get data in and out and what the technologies we use. But just rest assured that if 300 is a potential software system for you, chances are we've got modules or features in here that we can really help automate your company as we go. So these are the 10 reasons. I'm going to go through them one by one. I'll give you some examples of each of these as we go. So we don't need to necessarily spend time on the screen, but I am going to come back and forth to this as we move through it. First one we're going to look at is the fact that this system was designed to be a graphical user interface, the GUI side of it. The software was never run in DOS. There's no DOS behind the scenes in this. It was designed from day one to be a Windows system. And actually, it goes back far enough that it was running on Windows or OS 2, but it was always been a graphical system. It was always designed to use the mouse. It was maximized to use the mouse. So we don't have some of the challenges older systems have, and it's becoming more and more prevalent that if you migrated your software from a DOS system, that there's DOS components that are under the covers. And as Microsoft has moved further along, they've started to eliminate some of those, call them kernels, but they've eliminated some of those. So it becomes harder and harder for older systems that weren't designed for Windows to operate. We just don't have that issue. As you look at the software and look at the design, it's always been graphical. And so that gives us some things that other products might not have. The second reason we had out there was grid entry. So the idea there early on when Sage was doing the research on the graphical side of the house, they decided that doing data entry from a grid was something that would be very easy for people to grasp. We had built an estimating system, and the estimating system used a grid. Everybody seemed to feel comfortable with it. So I've got now a grid to enter my budget on the job, or I've got a grid potentially here to enter a direct cost on a job. And so what you'll find within here is when we start looking at these grids, they're all very consistent. So if we look at accounts payable, enter an invoice. If we're in accounts receivable, enter invoice. We're doing payroll or doing journal entries. We drop everything into a grid. People seem to feel comfortable with that grid. And so once I start entering data, I'm utilizing the same component here, which is going to be a grid. So there's my grid to enter a budget. There's my grid to enter a direct cost. This example that I'm showing you right now is another one that many DOS systems can't do, or systems that were designed on DOS can't do. I now have two windows opening, two processes potentially going on at the same time. So that it's less prevalent now, but in the early when this was first coming out, many systems could only have one window open at a time or one program going on at a time. And this allows us to do that in a very different manner. One of the other areas we wanted to look at today when we came in here is not just grid entry, but field sensitive help. So while I'm sitting on this grid and I'm on any screen, you'll see in the area to the right is a question mark. If I click on that question mark and drag it over, the system will pull me to the field sensitive help. So I clicked on standard item and it will show me standard item. As I look at the help engine here, I can also come in and work through the whole job cost system, including things like how to correct entries or how to enter job cost data, or how to correct data, or what am I doing within printing and fields and macros and help. And so we've got a kind of a unique ability within here to keep people out of not on the 800 number. I can get to most everything I need right from the screen. So this context sensitive help, including the help that is online. Being able to come in to the help world and go out to Sage from my screen and log into their help engine called the knowledge base, or go out and chat with support while I'm out here, or enter a support ticket, or go on to an online community, or go to the users group. All that can be done from this one screen, one program. So we kind of give you many areas of help, starting specifically and most used is while I'm sitting on the screen. If I'm not sure what's going on, I'm just going to go ahead and go right over to that area and find the help. So we get to formulas. Formulas is an interesting concept that we get to when we look at the software. And I'll go ahead and go back to the desktop here. The thing that we offer that's a little bit unique is this concept called a formula. So what most systems do is they hard code calculations either in reports or they hard code calculations in the program. So an example would be payroll. What we use is a formula, and so it allows the end users to come out into the software and actually to design or define a calculation method. So if I want to have a report that has a specific calculation, or I want to have an inquiry that has a specific calculation, or I need to do a specific calculation within payroll, you can actually come out into the system and actually either copy and modify existing formulas that Sage has provided. So if I come in here and I say, look at all my Sage, these are all different formulas. The formulas are delivered with the software, but they also give you an ability to copy and modify them. So something simple like, how do I calculate my percent complete? And at what level do I calculate my percent complete? And how do I want to look at my budgets? And how do I want to look at my cash flows? Well, older systems and systems that aren't really designed around this are using things called stored procedures, or they're using things that I have to go into the report. Where in this world, it really is kind of a unique tool to say, hey, I want to do a calculation, and then I can just jump right into the database and go define where I want the calculation to be done. So I can say, hey, go over to the job, and inside the job, I want to take something like the original estimate. And from that original estimate, I want to subtract my job to date cost, and then I'm going to go ahead and save that. And so I'm going to call that my Sage 300 top, we'll say that's the top 10, right? So we can recognize that that's out there. So I've built a formula, and I've got the formula now. It's available in the database. I could use that in a calculation in payroll. Excuse me, I could use that on a report. I could use that in inquiry if I want. And I'll show you that as we go. So that kind of takes us to the next area. I'm going to use user-defined fields, and we'll come back to the formulas in a little while. And the idea with the user-defined field is there are some areas in the system where I can come in and enter custom fields. So every master file, every vendor, customer, job, sub-job, employee, let's think of things that are static in the software. We have an ability to go out and add master files, add user-defined fields. So if we were to go out and say I'm on a vendor file, and for whatever reason I need a value on the vendor that I'm going to use in a report, or that will help me sort or do whatever I want, I can come out and say I need their, I don't know, the county reg number. So I can come in here and say I'm going to take their county reg number, and now based on this field I can start to say, is it an alpha field, alpha numeric, or is it just a numeric field? And if it is numeric, how do I want to treat the field? I can determine what the size of the field is. Maybe I want to make it 20 digits. I can come down here and make things like a checkbox. Is it a yes or no? Is it a date? Is it a time? Is it a phone number? Is it a social security number? Is it a drop-down list? In a drop-down list, we could come through here and say, well, it's going to be Orange County, or maybe it's going to be LA County, or it's going to be Riverside. And so I can come through now and start to build in here. We'll say, fine. I can build the value that becomes my in my database. So now instead of having to have a programmer add values or data to the fields, say for vendors or employees or jobs or sub-jobs, we give you, just a customer, the ability to do it. And when you do this, when I hit close, the system says, hey, I want to go ahead and I'm going to have to make an upgrade. Is that okay? And I'm going to just say, go ahead. And I'm going to say I have a backup out here, and I'm going to go ahead and do a user-defined field backup. And so now I'm just going to say go. And so what the software is doing now is it's taking the values that I just added, and it should, if I go in here and I did that correctly, I should be able to go to a vendor, and inside that vendor, I can run all the way to the end of the data elements here and say, what were the custom fields? And those are the custom fields that I just entered. So now when we come in here, I can say, you know, this was an LA counter, and this is what it is. It's over here. And so that's just as if a programmer did it, adding those things. And so each of these tables, this vendor table, I can add 250 of these fields. And so you have this kind of unique ability to expand the database without having to get programmers involved. So when you start adding these tools up and we start looking at them, the ability here to go through and add formulas, the ability here to go through and do user-defined fields. It's really kind of working me through the database and expanding the database into what I need. So when we look here also, we'll kind of move back in here. If we're doing data entry, and we looked a second ago at a couple import screens, right? We were saying we were going to go through here now. We were going to enter budget, or we were going to enter direct cost. Well, what usually happens in the system is if I have an ability to enter a value, a transaction, I can usually import it. So I can enter budgets or direct costs. If I go to the tools in the same area, I can import budgets or direct costs. I can also enter subcontracts or commitments here, and I can import those. So you'll see module by module, usually if I have that ability to do an entry, and an example here is I can make a journal entry, or I can enter a budget. If I go down into the tools, chances are I can have import budgets or transactions. Or if I go up here a little bit further and I want to go in here, and I'm going to, in the accounts payable module, I want to work through this module where I can enter an invoice. Well, chances are if I go to the tools, I can also import those invoices. So we've seen over the years that many people have different systems. They may have a third-party estimating system. They may have Excel as estimating. They may be capturing data in the field. They may be doing purchasing out of a specialized system. Well, we can't be everything to everybody. So providing the ability to bring that importing capability in, it allows us to work with other systems very simply and easily. So we're going to take a second here and drop over, and we're going to look at one of the other tools. So I'm going to go to project management real quick, and I'm going to go to an inquiry, and we'll pull up an inquiry, and I'll give you, this was the first system on the market that utilized this concept. You see a lot of the systems that came along after that have tried to mimic this, but for us, it's an inquiry, and we ship the software with hundreds of them in this. They all work the same. They're all drill down capable. And the idea within this world is we have an ability to define these. We have an inquiry tool that you can use. You can modify ours. You can design your own. You can take ours, copy them, change them, do whatever you need to do with them. They all work like spreadsheets. So as I build in here, I've got a list of projects, and I've got values that are in this project. And the idea during the build is you define what you want on the spreadsheet. What are the values that you need on the spreadsheet? So in this case, I've got some that are already out here. But if you want to modify this, you can actually on the fly just go into the software and say, all right, what do I need to do? So I'm actually jumping into the software now and saying, well, why don't you do this? Give me the project manager's name in the next column, and then resize the column so it makes a little sense. And then also, I know there's some other data that I want just to make it simple and easy. So I'm going to go back to the job record in the database, and I'm going to go down and find something like last time, or the status of the project is one we like to add in here. We can see who's in progress. And I'm going to go add one more column in here just because it makes it easier maybe to define how current some of the job is or what's been going on here. So I can come down here, and I'm going to go find a value called last cost update. And so now what I'm showing here is I've changed my spreadsheet so that it includes things like project manager and the status and the last cost update. If I wanted to add a filter to these columns, I can do that as well. So I can add a filter in here. The filters are reading the values in the spreadsheet. So I can say, let's add a filter, and the filter is going to be based off the project, and I'm going to use the status field because I've added it up to the screen. So let's grab the status, and I can say I only want to see jobs that are in progress. So I add this filter now, and I said okay. And the system has now limited the values that are on my screen to just the filter. So now if I take this away and I say, listen, take that one away because I want to see everything, I delete that, it'll take me back to everything we've got out here. So I've got these basic values that I've added to my spreadsheet. I can also add formulas here. So if you think of the formula that we built, and maybe I want to put the formula right here, I'm going to add a column after this column, And so the same thing I did a second ago where I went over to the job cost value and I said, go grab that. But really what I can start to do now in here is to say, take me to my public formulas, if we've got public formulas out here, and see where that public formula is. And so there's my Sage 300 Top 10 formula. And so now I just added that Sage 300 Top 10 formula. I built the formula, I referenced the formula, I enter the formula, and I just drop it on the screen, and the calculations happen for me automatically across the whole spreadsheet. So you've got that kind of unique ability to find this in any way you want. Utilize basic math or values in the system, utilize formulas that we need, and then you also have a capability to save this. So if you like the way this looks, you can save it, and you can actually put these in a list. So now I can start to see exactly what is the data that I'm seeing here, and what format do I want. The other area that we have that's kind of unique here is if we decide we want to do drill downs, I can actually just hit enter on a column and it will drill me down to the data behind it. So I was sitting at the contract value and I hit enter on the contract, and it took me out and showed me my schedule of values and the status of the schedule of values. If I hit escape, it takes me back up. If I move over, say, to the budget, this will show me how the budget was run. Same kind of idea. Hit escape, it takes me back up. Go to the commitments, hit enter, it takes me to the commitments. When I'm in these screens, you have the ability to define how far you want to drill down. So if I come in here now and I say I want to look to see what that concrete paving is, I hit enter. It shows me the invoices. If I see an invoice, I hit enter. It'll take me out and show me the check. So there's a check on an invoice on a purchase order that I got to from a line item on the project. And what you get at all of these levels is not only the same ability we looked at up higher, which was to add fields, right? I can go out into the database. The software recognizes that I'm on the cost code. In many cases, I can get the same type of data. Show me the status of the cost code if we want. And then maybe next to the status of the cost code, let's go in here and add last cost update. See if we've got that out there. There's my last cost update. So now I'm building in and utilizing the same tools. I can also come in here now and I can add a column in, and it can be any value in the database, but I can also come out and go to formulas. And so now I can go to maybe job cost formulas, and I can say these are all the values out here that are calculated. So I need to get values that are calculated at this level, and so I can build formulas around the cost code if I need to, get to the data that I want, drill down, take whatever we need, and actually start to come through here and say at this cost code level, maybe I do want to look at the estimate, but maybe I'm really more interested in seeing labor hours. And so at this level, I can move over to see budgeted and actual labor hours. Or if I can look at budgeted and actual labor costs, or I can build over here and see subcontract summary that's going on. And so as you build these queries, they become linked to a level of the database. And so as you build them and expose them, then I have access to them throughout the system. And so I can start to now kind of come through and say, hey, as I'm going down and I need to get data, really like the capabilities, want to see what's going on, I can just come right out here and bring this data out and start to manipulate the data, print the data if I need to from the screen. I can bring it to Excel if we need to, which we'll look at in just a second. So kind of a unique tool, have hundreds of these in the software. This was just completely new to the industry when it first came out, but it is something that you'll find as we go into any of the modules. You'll find the same menuing structure in the modules. So if I look at accounts payable, we have an ability to enter tasks and do setup, and we'll have inquiries. And so if I have vendor inquiries, or I can have invoice inquiries, and then we also have reports. So every module, if I'm in General Ledger, same kind of idea. Inquiries, setup, reports. If I'm in job cost, task, tools, inquiries, reports. We'll have hundreds of these that are available. It's a way for you to get access to the data, drill down, add to it, print it without any ability to change. So for us, that has been a really big item for us, is this drill down with capabilities. The other one we get, this is going to be kind of a new one, is simple reporting. Most systems utilize Crystal or Microsoft reporting services, or something that's complex. Takes time to learn. You got to be a little technical. It requires you to understand what joins are and all these things. Well, when this was designed, and then we've moved along with this, is we need to give most customers an ability to do simple reporting, ad hoc reporting. I don't necessarily want or need a report writer to come in and handle all the reporting for me. I need a tool that maybe can give me some simple reporting. And so this is their report designer. It's inside Sage 300. It reads all the Sage 300 tables. You can add any of the reports to the menus that you want. If the original reports were written with this tool, you can modify them. Or you can do something like I'm going to do. I'm just going to do a really quick design to give you an idea how simple it can be. I want to look at a report. I'm interested in invoice status by vendor. And so all I really need to know is where's the data that I want. So I know some of the data that I want is on the AP invoice. And I know some of the data that I want is over on the vendor. And so I just add the vendor. I got invoice and I got vendor. So now I've got basically a workspace to build my report. The system knows I selected the invoice, so it's made a decision that maybe it's an invoice report. And then over here on the container on the right is where I get to the data that I need. So I'm just going to go ahead and say I want to see the vendor number, I want to see the invoice number and the description and the status of the invoice and the amount of the invoice and any discounts taken and maybe the amount paid. And so I've just grabbed data, and it's now on a grid. It's ready to go. But you know what usually happens is it's not exactly the way I want. So chances are I'm going to want to come put totals on it. So I'm going to go ahead and take vendor totals, and I'm going to get report totals. So I've now built in here a basic vendor report. I'll go ahead and print it, and I'll say this is the data, and I'll preview it. So what I have now is vendor, invoice, description, status, amount, discount taken, amount paid, and a total. Really simple. Then just a very simple report. If you get to an existing report or a report that you're working on, you want to change it. Maybe you want to add some information in here. We actually have some graphical or GUI controls. So I can come through here and say, now, you know what I want to do is there's some data that I want to get in here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line right here, and I'm going to drag all this stuff out of the way. I'm going to go back into my data, and I'm going to go and pull some information from the vendor. And so now I just come in and say, all right, on the vendor, maybe I want to see the vendor name, and I want to see my contact name, and maybe I want to see their phone number. We'll take their phone number, right? So I got more of what I need. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag that data back. I'm going to put it where I want it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clear this information because it got moved over and I don't really need that. So we'll clear it. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add the L back to this and this. And then I'm going to come back out and I'm going to print it again. So we'll go ahead and print this report. We'll go to the master, and now I've got a report that is sitting out here. If we zoom in a little bit, vendor, name, contact, if there was a phone number there, their invoices, and then the status of these invoices, the amount we paid. So I got a really, really simple AP invoice report. Maybe that's exactly what someone needs or wants. And then I can come in here and I just save this design as a certain name, and then I have an ability to go into any of the modules and add that report. So I'll just kind of walk through here real quick, and I'm going to go back to that report, and I'm going to save that design as, and I'm just going to call it, I'm actually going to put it someplace where I can find it really quickly and easily, and I'm going to call this my simple AP invoice report. I'm going to put it on my desktop. I'm going to save it. So the design is now saved. I don't need the report writer anymore. I'm going to go over to a module. Let's just say accounts payable. And there's a certain places that we have to do this, but I'm going to go into a module. I'm going to say I'm going to do a new report design. I'm going to call this my top 10 demo simple report, right? And I'm going to come in and say, where do I want it to go on my menu? So I'm going to say, maybe it goes on my custom menu. And then I'm going to say, is it a Crystal report, the kind of more sophisticated tool? Is it Office Connector report? This is one where we can get in and use Excel. But I'm just going to go out now, and I can look in the construction sample data, but I'm more likely I'm just going to go to my desktop, and we'll just say that's the report right there. So I'm going to go ahead and open that report. And so now what we end up with when I close this, and the reports are out there, right? It's rebuilding my menuing structure for me right now. It just takes a second. And then when I go look at my menu, the menu itself we'll go ahead and I'll say, where's my custom report? And there's my top 10 simple report, right? That's the one we just did. I pulled it up. In a matter of 4 minutes, I built a report. I put it on a menu system, and it should just move around the system. I may have to come back out of this, but if I go into my custom here, maybe it'll be there as well. There's my top 10 simple report, just right on my desktop. So really, kind of an ad hoc reporting tool. That's what we call it. It's just a simple way to get a report out. Most people, that's what they really want, is an ability to get things out. Our ninth one that I want to look at is something called My Assistant. My Assistant is a warning system. It's unique to Sage 300. It really gives us an ability to go into the software and to define a warning. Tell me if, tell me when, tell me, and so you're telling the software what to look for. So tell me when I have commitments where the total amount invoice exceeds the revised commitment amount. So someone sent me an AP invoice in. We went out and we applied it against the commitment, the subcontract. The system warned the operator that the amount invoiced was more than the revised purchase order, and the operator decided to go ahead and override the warning. Well, project manager may want to know that. So these warnings will run in the background. And so anytime one of these 300 plus warnings are broken, the system will send warnings. It'll send emails out. Emails will show up. They can have links in the emails. But in many cases, I'm just trying to tell people that something has happened within the software. Like I have invoices that are on hold, or I'm missing something. I'm missing the certified report, or I got vendors that are missing values. It's checking the database and providing reporting about things like, hey, I got commitments where we're missing in general liability insurance, or I've got vendors that's missing this, or I've got jobs that went over budget, or I got jobs that went over budget by a certain amount. And those warnings can show up as an email, or an email with embedded information in the grid, or it can show up as an email with an Excel report attached, or an email with a PDF report attached. And I'll just give you some examples of how and where we use these. So in one case, I may just provide email to project managers once a day. This is a daily email that's coming out. At the end of the day, the software comes out and says, all right, Jeff, your cost codes that went over budget. They're your jobs, they're your cost codes. You had a total estimate of $6,980. You have a job to date cost of $7,700. I'm just telling you that it's over budget. Or I've got RFIs that have been entered and they're over 5 days old. Or I've got change requests submitted and not approved. Just informational only. I'm sending you information just to let you know that there's things out there that we need to do. So we use this to define and help notify what's going on, what shouldn't be going on, what am I worried about, what am I looking for, what's happening out here. And these are what all the rules really do for us, is this. One of the other things it does for us, though, it does report distribution. So if you have project managers that need reports on a recurring basis, instead of running the reports to PDF or printing them on paper, we can actually tell the software to go run a set of reports and deliver them to project managers. And because we know the project manager on job, we can actually limit in a report to those jobs that are only associated with that project manager. And so now think of every day, every week after payroll, or once a month we want to send this, or once a week I want to send this. We can automate these reports. Those reports can be not only to internal resources, but external, like vendors and customers. And so we kind of give you that example. Here's an example right here, is if I have a list of vendors whose insurance is expiring soon, it's nice to tell the person who's responsible for vendor compliance that, hey, there's some things that are problematic with these vendors. But we can also send to the vendor a notification automatically, just telling them, hey, Mr. Vendor, your policy number X is expiring on Y. We need you to revise this. And, oh, by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and attach a copy of our insurance requirements so you understand what we're doing here. So this report, this warning can come out automatically 30 days prior to expiration, every vendor in the system, and it may run every day. So every day, the vendors that are expiring in 30 days, they'll get an email. And you can take this and copy it and make it 15 days and 10 days and 5 days, so that the system is constantly sending warnings to people about compliance items that we're worried about. So we use that to provide information to internal and external resources. Things simple as, what's the status of my subcontract? The other component that we do within here, it's really unique, is that we can define reports when I go in here to deliver in Excel. And so this kind of gets us to our next topic in here, our last topic, which is going to be Excel. So how can we get to Excel? Everybody uses Excel. They like Excel. What can we do with it? Well, we can import from Excel if we want, and then I'll show you the other ways that we can actually get data out to Excel. So one of the ways, and I'm just going to go out and I'm going to go back to my desktop and I'm going to find a report. Let's just say we'll go to project management, and I don't want an inquiry, but I'm going to go to a report first. And let's say I want to look at a subcontract document, and I'm going to look at one with full detail, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll see how the reporting engine works. So this will pull up a report hub. I can pull that to the screen and say I want to see my subcontract log. So there's my job, there's my subcontract, it's Kingston Plumbing. And these are all of the subcontracts within this project. It's showing me what the original contract was. It shows me any change orders that are out here, what invoices they've sent us, what checks we've sent them, and the retainage. So while I'm looking at this the screen, I can come out now, and I'm going to go ahead and close that. But one of the things that I can do is go to the printer setup, and I can tell the system that I want to send this printer to a file, and then I can come out and tell the system what type of file is it. So I can drop this report right into Excel. It'll go through a configuration or a transformation, and that report then will be sitting in Excel for me. So anything that we see within a report, we have an ability to send it right out to Excel. So we give you that ability. We'll also give you an ability to take data from an inquiry. So if I go back into, let's say I want to go into project management, we'll go back to that initial inquiry that we looked at, and I'll just say, let's go back to that project overview, and we'll pull it up to the main screen, and then I'll show you on that page. So this one is just now coming up, pulling up my inquiry, and I'll just accept all these defaults, and there's my inquiry. And I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, this is the data that I want. I've added the columns and doing whatever I want. If I hit the Excel button, and then it gives a second. The system is now taking the data and it's moving it out to Excel. And I pull the screen down. You'll see that I pulled the data and it dropped it right down into the column. So we use this inquiry tool as an ad hoc Excel reporting tool. Any of the data that we're manipulating, any of the data on the screens can be moved right into Excel. So it becomes a really simple tool to get data into Excel. Any inquiry, right to Excel. Any report, right to Excel. We also use our My Assistant tool. It also can bring reports to Excel. The way the reports work in this system are really unique in that when we run and design the report, we can design the report coming out of My Assistant with logic. So I'm going to send the project manager a cost to complete worksheet. So I'll go out to Excel. This report came right out of My Assistant. It came right out of Sage 300 whenever we delivered it. Let's say it was monthly. When the system generated this report, these first columns are all live data. This is data as current as whenever that report was run. But when we designed it, we also wanted to give the project managers an ability to do calculations. So we built the report in Excel and gave them an ability to enter data. So the project manager now can come in and enter a cost to complete, and we'll calculate downstream. So this, if your project managers or people in your organization are taking data and moving it from paper to Excel, we use My Assistant to kind of bypass that. If we know what they want to see in Excel, and they're going to put it in Excel, then why not just give it to them in Excel? And so My Assistant will give us that ability to just put everything right in Excel. So that's one example of what we maybe drive to Excel. Here's another one where maybe I have a WIP report and we want to do that in Excel. It makes more sense in Excel. I'm going to go ahead and just deliver that report in Excel. And it gives me this ability now to come through and start to manipulate the data and start to play with the data in the format that made sense to me. The two that I show you, they come with the software. You want to build your own, you go right into My Assistant, you build the report in Excel, you build the logic and the calculations in Excel, and then we derive the data right into Excel. And so we've got we've got that capability. And it includes things like, billing worksheets or RF logs. If you want reports or logs, we bring those right into Excel. So it's kind of a unique tool to get it into Excel. One of the other ways that we can do this, and this is where it gets interesting, is in that scenario I showed you, is we were driving the data to Excel. So think of it as in the Sage 300 database, I have a report, I drive the data to Excel. The two are disconnected. In this tool, I can actually come out and I'm going to go ahead and design the report in Excel. And so what I do is I'm connecting the data from Excel over into the system. So I'm just going to tell the software what job I want to get, and it will go through now, and it'll take from this spreadsheet, it will go connect to the Sage 300 database, and right now it's pulling down all of the current data from this spreadsheet. And so it takes a second, but I delivered a cost to complete worksheet to a disconnected Excel spreadsheet where I drove it out, sent it to the project manager. If we're connected to the database, we have a little more flexibility where I can start to bring data in. So here's a cost to complete worksheet, and it's done in Excel, but it's driving the data. So all of the data that you see in this is either live data that just came in or it's calculations. And so I can also kind of build in capabilities in here to start entering data. So this is where I can enter my cost complete and see what happens to it. And I can expand or do anything that we can do in Excel where I can build these really complex spreadsheets and then bring them down and collapse them and provide them to people. So I can get that data into the software in whatever way I want. So in that example that we just looked at or talked about, I can bring Excel out simply to from a report, from an inquiry. I can do it from to a Excel report. I can do it, pull it into Excel. So there's all these different ways to get data either into Sage from Excel or out to Excel, and it's just a recognition that Excel is the most used reporting system that's out there. And so kind of to end things here, our goal today was to just give you what I think are maybe 10 reasons why the product seems to be really popular, has been the most used system in the market. It is now, we have more clients than anybody else in a single system environment. We sell more new systems than anybody else. And so the momentum is on Sage 300. It has been for years. And it's because there are tools like I just showed you and capabilities that are within the software that have made it easy for people to work with, expand, grow, feel comfortable with that. So if you need any other information on Sage 300, just go to our website, alliancesg.com. You can call us 888-559-9540, and we'd be happy to show you a deeper look at Sage 300 or any of the other systems that we have available at this point. So thanks for your time, and look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
That should work, right?
Yeah, that's perfect. And actually, the guy showed up.
Oh, good. So we saw some of it.
Yeah. So he still might be listening. I just jumped off. So.
Okay.
Anyway.
I stopped the recording, so let me know how it comes out. All right.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah. It's changed now, so it records online. And anyway,
okay.
I'll download it and get it in the places, and I'll let you review it first if you like, and then we can get it published. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.